Today's video is going to be about self-esteem and self-motivation. In order for me to tell this story, I'm going to use an example of my own life and how I discovered my own self-esteem and how I continue to use my self-esteem to self-motivate. So the story starts that I grew up in a very unstable upbringing. Didn't have a great relationship with my father. Matter of fact, he never gave me any praise. Matter of fact, he was really quite critical of me all the time. No matter what I did, in fact, whether I did well on a test at school or I did a really good project or I got picked for a sports team or I scored a goal, or even if I was just a good human and helped an old lady cross the road, no matter what I did, it never seemed good enough for praise, and quite often it would be met with criticism. And this went on for my whole life, really. Constantly just breaking me down all the time, slowly but surely. I felt pretty worthless my whole life, both at school and at home, and was generally quite sad about it all, if I'm honest. It wasn't easy, but it wasn't really until my sort of late teens, early 20s when I met my now wife. And I met someone that finally, loved me and gave me everything I needed to build me up and made me feel like I can do something, made me feel confident, made me feel like I can actually achieve these things and that I was good enough, and that was wonderful. And I will always be grateful for that. But that then gave me the strength to confront my dad and say to him, the way it made me feel. I wasn't expecting anything from him. I just felt like I wanted him to know. And I remember going to the family home and going into the kitchen, closing the door and beginning a conversation with him. Only for him to cut me off and immediately start telling me how worthless I was, how I wasn't doing very well, how this wasn't right and that wasn't right and I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And in that moment, something really quite profound happened. I sort of took a step back and I realized something. There was a huge issue between him and I, but it wasn't my issue, it was his. So I gave that issue back to him and left. So what I took from that situation was I realized something. I made a choice and I made a decision, and I said to myself, for the rest of my life, I am never, ever, ever, ever gonna allow someone else's view of the world or the view of me dictate how I feel about myself. My self-esteem was going to come from me, not from external sources. Self-esteem is not based on what other people think of you, whether that's social media, whether that's a boss, whether that's a friend, whether that's a partner. Self-esteem is what you think of yourself. And as you begin to believe in yourself, as you begin to love yourself, as you begin to realize you're a good person, you start to become motivated. People do a lot of negative self-talk. They stand in the mirror. I've known clients to tell me they've stood in the mirror and said, oh, you're greedy, you're fat, you're ugly, you're this, you're that. That doesn't do anyone any favors. I mean, my rule is if you wouldn't say it to somebody else, do not say it to yourself. What I think everyone should do is stand in the mirror, have a look at yourself and love yourself. I know people are going to say, Johnny, what are you talking about? What's all this about? But it's true. No matter how daft you feel, no matter how stupid you feel, you might look in the mirror naked if you have to, and you might want to make a change. You might look at your body and decide you want to make a change, and that's okay. As long as you make that change because you love yourself, not because you hate yourself. Because if you love yourself enough to do something for yourself. You love yourself enough to give yourself that gift, to stick to it, to follow through, to self-improve. You're not doing it because you hate yourself. As soon as you start doing something from a place of negativity, it's probably doomed from the start. So the message here is self-esteem is so important for self-motivation. I realized later on in life that I had everything I needed. I just needed someone to help me believe that, and now I believe in myself and, I can't say I love myself, it sounds a bit weird, but But, you know, I respect myself and I love myself enough to dedicate myself to the gym work, to dedicate myself to my diet, and to educate myself and self-improve all the time in business, life, family, whatever. So the message is, it's okay to want to make a change, but do it because you love yourself, not because you hate yourself. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please like it, share it, whatever you can. Thank you.